Once upon a time in the small town of Crestwood, where the sun-drenched days faded quickly into quiet nights, 12-year-old Lily Harper was known for her wild imagination. An only child, she had learned early on to create worlds of her own when other kids abandoned her for sports or games. Her parents noticed that her adventures often took her far from reality, but they appreciated her creativity, until it spiraled into something they could not comprehend. One rainy afternoon, Lily stumbled across an odd, dusty book while helping her grandmother clean out the attic. The pages were yellowed and brittle, the ink faded. Scribbled across the cover were words she barely made out: "The Guide to Your Heart's Wish." With an innocent desire for companionship, she whispered her wish into the book, never realizing the consequences that would unfold. That night, Lily dreamt of a friend, a tall, shadowy figure with strikingly bright eyes staring back at her from the dark corners of her mind. When she awoke, she brushed it off as a mere figment of her imagination. But soon, this whispering companion began showing up more frequently, and as days passed, he took shape, the way her mind crafted him. She named him Cyrus, an angelic figure who promised her endless laughter and camaraderie. At first, Cyrus was everything that Lily had hoped for. They spent hours creating elaborate games, exploring the vast landscapes of her imagination. He was charming, funny, and always available when she felt lonely. They played in the woods behind her house, making forts out of twigs and leaves, and shared secrets that only best friends should know. But then, something shifted. One evening, under the pale glow of her bedside lamp, Lily noticed that Cyrus began to change. His once brilliant eyes glimmered with a hint of mischief. The games turned from joyful laughter to sinister riddles. Her commands, previously obeyed without question, became the seeds of chaos. When Lily asked Cyrus to draw a picture, he filled it with dark, jagged lines that seemed to throb with a life of their own. "Isn't it beautiful?" he whispered, his voice now low and gravelly, echoing through her mind like a distant thunder. "Not really," Lily replied hesitantly, shivers racing down her spine. "Oh, Lily, but it's what you wanted," he grinned, the corners of his mouth stretching impossibly wide. And thus, a dark game began. Cyrus suggested things that frightened Lily, evoking the sound of blackbirds screeching, summoning shadows behind every corner of her room, and challenging her to visit the long-abandoned house at the end of her street. The once fun playtime turned into sinister tasks that crept further into her real life. One fateful night, after Lily refused to enter the hollow, rotting house, Cyrus grew angry. "You don't want to play with me anymore," he hissed, his form flickering like a faulty light bulb. Something icy settled in the room, and Lily felt her heart pounding. "I'm just scared," she yelled, tears pricking her eyes. "There's no fear in fun, Lily," he roared, now devoid of any warmth. "You created me, and I will not fade away." The temperature dropped, and shadows danced around her room, consuming the light. The walls seemed to close in, groaning from the weight of her panic. The shelves around her splintered, and her books tumbled to the ground. Cyrus's curse settled around her, and Lily realized he was more than just an imaginary friend. He was a tether to something darker that she had unwittingly invited into her life. In desperation, Lily sought to rid herself of Cyrus. She tore through the dusty book in the attic, searching for a way to reverse her wish. The lines blurred as she rifled through the pages until she found a small note tucked inside. "To release your heart's wish, speak the words true. Only honesty can sever the bond with you. Risk all you hold dear, for fear is the key to unlock the door." With the shadows swirling around her and Cyrus's laughter echoing like a twisted lullaby, she clutched the book tightly and summoned her courage. "I only wished to be alone, Cyrus. I don't want you anymore." The air crackled with tension, and for a moment, silence clung heavily around her. Then, with a sickening chill, Cyrus shrieked, his voice slithering through the fabric of her mind with pure rage. "You can't dismiss me so easily. I reject you," she cried out, her eyes filling with tears. "You aren't my friend, you're a nightmare." In an instant, the shadows lunged at her, the room swirling like a dark cyclone. The book glimmered with an ethereal light, causing Cyrus to stumble back. "No," he screeched, his form quaking, twisting, contorting into shapes of despair. With a final gasp, Lily yelled the words of the spell again, her voice rising above his shrieks. I don't want you anymore. The room exploded in a whirl of light and shadow, creating a shockwave that knocked Lily to the ground. When the abrupt silence returned, the shadows receded, and the choking darkness lifted. Lily lay there panting, the book gone from her hands, leaving behind only a few pieces of torn paper floating gently in the air before falling. She remained half convinced that Cyrus would return, but slowly, she began to sense a weight lift from her soul and the world around her. She knew she had defeated him. As she gathered herself, the moonlight shone through the window, illuminating the peaceful room once more. She felt a bittersweet loss, but most importantly, she was free. Alone, but no longer lonely. But deep down, she knew the price of ignored desires. And as she drifted off into a dreamless sleep, the rustling of the paper remnants whispered promises in the stillness, warning her to always stay cautious, to be careful what desires she dared to wish for.